What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Got a special guest in the building, Felipe Lopez. What's up, man?
How are you, DJ? Thank
I'm
you
great.
for having me, man.
You got it. Thanks so much for coming in. First of all, congratulations on the documentary, The Dominican Dream. I watched it last night. You have quite a story.
Man, thank you for watching it.
Of course.
That's awesome,
yeah.
That's great.
Because I was born in the 90s, so I kind of missed your whole backstory here. So for me, it was great to learn about you really for the first time, which was awesome.
And the funny thing is that you mentioned 90s. You know, back then, we had no Twitter,
Yep.
no Instagram,
Nope.
no YouTube. So everything was pretty much through word of mouth. And I think it kind of created a different kind of impact. Because when you don't get to see it, the story gets told a little bit different. Like, you know, oh yeah, I might have scored 20 points, but then you go and tell somebody I scored 25, then he goes and he tell somebody else that scored 30 by the end of the story.
You've dropped 50. So first and foremost, how did the idea for the documentary come together, and what was it like for you going through everything from the DR to now?
Honestly, I really didn't want to do the whole documentary if it was not presented to me the way Jonathan Hack presented to me. You know, he introduced it to me not as a basketball story. It was more as an immigration story.
Right.
And I loved it because to me, it's a topic that right now we actually live in. So many migrating families just going through, you know, different adversities coming into the country. We have, you know, my father came here in 83, my mother 86, I came in 89. And so many other families that have moved from different countries have that same kind of story, you know, and that's what I appreciated. The fact that it's showcasing the struggle that as a migrating family we go through, but then we live here where opportunities have been given.
Totally. And your parents came here before you came here.
Yes,
so what was the craziest part about you guys being on your own back at home before you came to America?
Well, you know, you had no supervision. You know, I'm with my sister and my brother. But the crazy thing about growing up in the Dominican Republic is that our neighbors, they parents. They watch everything you do. And
right, your second mother in the film.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, they're allowed to, they have as much privilege as your parental. They can pretty much just grab you by the ear, grab you, give you a nice little spanking if you're not doing the right kind of thing. And that's what I love growing up in Dominican Republic, that everything was a check. Okay, you got to check yourself for everything because anyone would just like correct you.
Definitely. So you come here to the Bronx. What was the biggest shocker about American culture?
Just the buildings.
Yeah, big buildings, right?
The buildings, man. You know, I come from a very small, humble house, and we have, I think the tallest building we had in our country back then probably was like 3 floors.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, you come here and you had, you know, so many buildings, so many people, melting pot, so many diversity, people coming from so many different countries, and it's an adjustment. You know, it's an appreciation of culture, but it's an adjustment, especially you coming from a country that is so Spanish. So, you know, even the language was something that I had to overcome.
Definitely. So you get here, you're starting to ball, and then your brother goes over to the Gauchos building. And the Gauchos aren't what we know about the Gauchos today. So
no, that was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have so many AAU teams. You know,
much different basketball culture back then.
Because of the game, the players were a lot more concentrated. You know, when I play our Gauchos, we have the best players from St. Raymond's, Ojalos, Cardinal Hayes, Rice High School. You know, they all came together over the summer, even though that during the basketball season, they all played for the different school. But that time, it pretty much was the best basketball alongside Riverside Hawks in the city, in Manhattan.
Yeah, those guys are good too.
Yeah.
So when do you start to realize that basketball can really be your thing? Because in the film it shows you're growing, but what's that moment you're like, this could be my thing?
You know what? It's a great question because even when I have the time, the opportunity to decide to go to the NBA, I'm still kind of like, you know, I'm still making a family decision.
Well, you were just a kid at that point, too.
Exactly, and coming from a country 5 years prior, just learning the language, learning the system, enjoying basketball. But, you know, the line, you know, you're in New York. You know, I'm on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and, you know, you expected a lot. from a personal point, but forgetting that you need a team around you in order for you to be successful. So sometimes it was not even fair because my teammates at Rice High School, Ziggy, Gary, G. Cox, Robert Johnson, they were part of my family. They the one that really uplifted me to be where I became.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before, just pre-social media, your whole hype train, because you could look at Sebastian Telfair, LeBron, or even Zion today, like yours was so pure and organic, and especially to do in New York City. So when you think about each year going forward from freshman to sophomore to junior year, like what was the craziest part of this whole ascension for you in this rise?
Man, it just, how every single year, like it just seemed like the press and the attention
more and more, right?
was like really building. It was like really growing. And, that's a great story on the New Yorker.
The New Yorker didn't cover sports.
I know.
Too.
So they did a wonderful story. They actually followed the team for like about 2 months.
Wow.
Just to get the story, precise. And I'm hanging out with, superstars. I'm taking pictures with people that I don't even know who they are, but I'm like supposed to be there.
Dude, Shaq came to your school. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was, so that's a crazy story. You have one of the biggest superstars in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal. He just walked into our small gym. Our gym is like the size of this room.
You're like, what is happening right
now? Just also, looking at some of the top colleges, coaches come through.
Yeah, Coach Cal, Boeheim, Bobby Knight came from Indiana. That was a big deal back then.
So that was, that was amazing. Different time again, because social media was not what it is today. So I'm pretty sure this story would have covered a lot more if we had social media. But I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, I think it was better for that.
I'm glad. And the documentary it tells the stories the way it was, and people can actually appreciate it if you didn't live in those times.
Well, I love how Jonathan Hawk got your family involved in there too, because you're in high school, you have the option to go to the NBA. You could have gone overseas in Europe, and getting that college degree was a really important thing.
Yes.
So can you just expand upon that? Because people are looking at your story and saying, man, you could have been a lottery pick.
Yeah.
You could have been top 10, had the money. Instead, you wanted to get your degree. Where did that foundation come from?
My mother. My mother being a teacher for 25 years, coming into a country that she understood the opportunity that it gives you, but you need to be able to have the core. You need to have the backbone, and obviously anything that you do in this country, you need to be able to have a degree. You need to be educated. And I think I was fortunate enough for us to be able to make that decision. Because of that, I'm standing here today. I have been NBA Cares Ambassador for the past 10 years. I have worked with the Barack administration as a mentor for the My Brother's Keepers initiative. We have another initiative through the NBA where we go to Rikers Islands and we're visiting some inmates just to help them out to maintain themselves in school. And after they come out, we can keep them in the same process. And just all based on education. And basketball have been the vehicle for me to like maintain myself being successful. And that's the reason why those 4 years at St. John's have been so important for me, not from the point of view of growing as a basketball player, but growing as a person and as a professional.
Right, because ultimately your basketball career is going to come to an end at some point.
Which it did.
Yeah, it did. In such a big way.
It came quick.
And that was crazy too, because when you tore your ACL, like guys tear their ACLs today and they're able to come back, but back in the early 2000s, like that was a career ender for you.
Well, it was not.
Well, for the NBA, I would say. You played overseas.
Well, what happened was that I tried to come back a little bit too soon.
Oh, okay.
And so I tore my ACL a second time, and by that time it was like, okay,
it's a done deal.
It's just a done deal.
And it was a bummer too, because you were really starting to play well with the Timberwolves at that point.
Yeah, man, I really was coming into my own. I was feeling comfortable. The team already had really adopted me as one of the core players. Playing with KG, one of the best teammates that I have played with, Chauncey Billups, who I played alongside with him, and he went on with the Detroit Pistons and won a couple of championships. So just the brotherhood that we kind of built there was something that I really appreciated, because the atmosphere was just really about winning, and coming together as a team.
Yeah, situation is everything. Like I was thinking when I watched last night, like if you had been on the Spurs, and hadn't been traded, like it could have been a totally different world for you.
I loved it. When I got drafted, knowing that I was going to San Antonio.
You put that jersey right on.
I did, and I took it off like 5 minutes later. But I really loved it because I was like, man, I'm going to, not just a great team with one of the best NBA coaches of all times, but I'm like, I'll be able to dance merengue and bachata and salsa.
San Antonio's a great spot, yeah.
Let's go. But, unfortunately, I got traded. Not unfortunately, I really just got traded to the Vancouver Grizzlies. And a beautiful city in
Right, but
Canada.
just the worst basketball situation you could think. I mean, 8
great
wins.
city.
Yeah,
it was a great city, but
8 wins
the
first
team
year.
was just really coming,
Yeah.
a new franchise, and try to work themselves into just being an elite NBA team, and it just didn't work out like that. They ended up moving the team to Memphis,
Right.
and they have found more success in Memphis than they did in Vancouver. But it was one of those learning years, you know what I'm saying, for somebody that just came into the league, and I'm just trying to embrace the time, as an NBA player.
Yeah. So going back to St. John's, the Big East at that time was loaded. You, AI, Rayon. There's the clip of you going after it with Allen Iverson at the Garden. What do you remember about that game?
Like yesterday. That was my first time really facing Allen Iverson, and I knew that I heard about him through high school, and I was one of the competition. And just being able to face him for the first time, I'm like, man, this is the first time I get to play AI, and I'm ready, and I know he's ready because we want to go at each other. So I would say that it was a game, but it was a game.
Game within the game, yeah.
And he was ready.
Definitely.
And he was ready.
He dropped 40 that game.
Yeah, he was ready. We won the game. I ended up with like 25 or something like that. But, he wanted to make sure that he prove his point.
No doubt. So when I think about your time at St. John's, obviously you had all the hype. You're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but you do end up going to the NCAA tournament. You, Artest, Fran Fraschilla. Once you had Fran Fraschilla in there, how did he impact you as a coach?
Just, sometimes you just need to refresh yourself in order for you to find, different options. And I thought that when he came in, he just brought a little bit of a different light to the team, kind of needed it. And everyone just felt a little bit more, I would not say comfortable. We just felt like, man, we have another shot, another opportunity. We cannot blame it on somebody else. We got to, put it upon ourselves and move this whole thing forward. And he gave us the confidence. He really truly gave us the confidence. I enjoyed so much playing for him. He was just one of those unicorn kind of coach for me.
Yeah.
Because of how different he was able to coach. I was never used to coach, to being coached by someone like Fran Fraschilla, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, no, great coach. So when I think about your story, you did so much for the Dominican Republic in terms of putting that country on the map with the flags when you're playing at Fordham and everything like that. So what was it like carrying that all those years, and how incredible was it to have the support not only of an area here in New York but of an entire country?
It wasn't just me. I was just the product because the fan was coming on their own. They bringing the flag, they bringing the tabora, the guira, they bringing the maraca, the plátanos and everything. So they really just enjoyed it. The fact that my participation was bringing a positive input into our community. I was being portrayed as someone, from the Dominican Republic that was bringing, something different that we needed it around that time. When we talked about Washington High around the 80s and 90s, everything was just being negative. So if you was not a baseball player, you was something else. And, just coming as a basketball player where it was just out of the blue, it was just like a really feel-good story for many of us.
Yeah, you really helped in transforming that. So thinking about your life.
And honestly, to have Alex Rodriguez in the film.
That was awesome.
And talking about, how his whole family.
Right. They're like, hey, you're watching basketball?
And now you're watching basketball because of the Dominican guy. It tell you, how much of an impact he had in the whole Dominican community, because it changed the mindset of just not like just being one kind of people or being portrayed in the media or anywhere else as the negative, but now we're bringing a different kind of light.
And that's the thing you can't quantify, is that a young Alex Rodriguez is watching you ball, and he becomes one of the best baseball players of all time. Because he's watching you doing it in one sport, and now he's able to do it.
And I appreciate it because I met Alex like a long time ago, I won't even tell you how we met because it almost felt like we just knew each other, you know, and we had just kept that relationship, that respect for each other through his up and down. I always supported him. We both wear number 13.
That's right.
So I'm like,
yeah,
man,
that's your guy right there. So as time went on and you saw people being compared to Jordan, whether it was LeBron or whether it's Zion Williamson today, like what do you think in those situations when you see that?
People did it.
Right.
I never
you weren't doing it, but
no,
I'm just, it continues to happen over and over again.
Yeah,
and people don't learn from that.
It just, because people can portray how they want to portray a superhero.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, you just have to be comfortable with yourself as far as like how you do things. And, you know, this is something that I always get asked, who's your favorite player? My favorite player is not Michael Jordan. My favorite player is Benicio Munoz, someone from my local club that I love. I admire him growing up, and I wanted to be like Benicio. It just so happened that I surpassed that, and now, you know, I had to look at, you know, other players to kind of like, you know, continue to push me to be the best. And NJ was, you know, that guy for any basketball player. But
I love how the documentary ends with that letter. It says he's not the next Michael Jordan, he's the first Felipe Lopez.
Which is awesome.
That was beautiful.
That was really touching, and you know, like a lot of times you get fans from all over the country that you never, like I would say, like you kind of have to be careful what you do in public and what you do in certain things, because you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
You know, especially the young generation, they copy so much. You know, my nephew right now, he's doing James Harden in step back, and he's only 6. You know, and then he shoots a 3 and he go like this, like Melo. So, you know, they like honestly just watching every single thing that they do, and that's the reason why, as a role model, you don't want to accept that you are a role model, but at the end of the day, you are.
Yeah.
And you have put yourself in that situation even though you don't want to. And, you know, I have truly loved the opportunity that basketball have given me. And through basketball, my message is like that we can do more, not just as athletes, but as people, you know, to give back to our community. You know, I'm being part of our mentoring program to make sure that we get back to some of these inner city kids that are growing up without, you know, a father at home. You know, and I think it is so important for people to have that love, to feel that they're being cared for, because when we don't, that's when we have the reckless.
Right.
That's when we have kids that, like, you know, don't really respect their elders, because why would they if they never had to? And you know, it's a process that we need to continue to learn. And I really love the opportunity, because here in this country, everything is just possible. It's like the documentary, The Dominican Dream.
Yeah, and I love that you're doing more, and you've always thought about other people. So the fact that you can give back is such a beautiful thing for your community. You should really be proud of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I just want to make sure that I share any information that people want to know about what I do and how they can help. They can always go to FelipeLopez13.com. And, you know, we had to open the website just to make sure what we do.
No doubt.
But it's a great site for people to kind of just go into a little bit in depth about some of the work that we've been doing.
Definitely. Have you been watching the NBA playoffs?
I just got back from Dominican Republic. You know, I'm president of a club there.
You're a little busy at the time.
Yeah, so I oversee over 300 athletes.
Wow.
And we just finished our basketball tournament, so I've been kind of busy, even though you do get to
a little bit here and there.
You get to watch, you know, what's going on. Obviously, Golden State is just going to be one of those teams that, you know, they're going to be hard to beat because of experience or how Kevin Durant is playing. But what a shot, Damian Lillard.
Oh, my God.
What a shot. How you going to step back and shoot a
37 feet?
That's.
It must blow your mind how basketball's transformed with all the three-point shooting.
They're going to have to move the three-point line. Honestly.
Seriously, we're getting to that point.
It's just like, you know, what Steph Curry is doing, what James Harden is doing, what Damian Lillard is doing, what Kevin Durant is doing, what LeBron is doing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like this three-point line, we're going to have to like do something about it, man.
Yeah, it's honestly insane. Well, Felipe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you.
We look forward for people to come and watch.
Tell everybody right here into our main camera.
We look forward for people to come and watch The Dominican Dream. It's being premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival Saturday, April 27th at 2:30. Sunday, April 28th. And also it's gonna be the grand premiere on ESPN April 30th at 9 p.m.
It's a great documentary. And this is a great guy right here, Felipe Lopez. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.